Hey everybody, so Faraday here. It's been a while. I have been meaning for quite some time to finish off my series on looking at the infinite through the elements. And the last one is Earth. Um, I don't want to repeat again the Kabbalistic ideas about the four worlds and the infinite. So I would suggest looking at the other videos in this series. I probably outlined it most completely in the first one, which was the fire video. Um, Looking at the element through the lens of Earth might not seem to make a lot of sense because the Earth, in the sense of the Kabbalistic worlds, is where we live, where our primary focus of consciousness is. And to a large extent, that means our daily, mundane sort of lives. And I know that through meditation, it's very, very possible to look at any single aspect of our mundane lives and blow it up to an infinite generalization, and that is an exercise worth doing, which requires a certain skill with meditation, which I recommend. I think with that sort of skill, you can look at anything as infinite. I have some other videos where I kind of do that. The one that comes immediately to mind is Conversation with the Storm, although there are more. And a storm is a physical, earthy, material thing, which is a good example of that sort of thing. Setting that aside, just looking at the material world itself, and we're really talking infinite. There's a song in the Monty Python's movie, The Meaning of Life, in which Eric Idle sings about a whole bunch of facts and figures about the physical world, which I like because it's easier for me to relate to facts and figures when they're presented to music, especially by a funny man. But the gist of it is about just how fast the world is turning, and just how far we are from the sun, and how fast we move around the sun, how fast the sun moves around the galaxy, and how long it takes to get there, and how wide the galaxy is in the middle and out by us, and how many galaxies there are, and how big the universe is. And it's enormous. It's infinite. When you talk on an astronomical level, the material universe is infinite and it's huge. To quote The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, you might think it's a long way down the street to the chemist, but that's nothing compared to space. We live in an infinite physical world, and it would be very, very easy for us to feel like we're nothing given how huge that is. But that's the first thing that I was talking about, the meditation to see anything as infinite. That includes yourself, and the fact that we as conscious entities can also look at the world infinitely through the lens of fire and water and air, as in the previous videos, shows that we're not bound to focus just on how small we are compared to the huge. Furthermore, in magic and occultism, we have the pentagram to look at. And the pentagram is a lot of things, and it means a lot of things, and it's useful for a lot of things. But one of the interesting things about it is the ratio where you have a line, which is a symbol of transcendental infinite deity, and it's cut by another line, and the longer line resulting from that cut is a symbol of nature, and the smaller line is a symbol of humanity. The ratio, the mathematical ratio of the smaller line to the larger line is exactly the same as the larger line to the whole line without the cut in it, suggesting that we are to nature as nature is to infinite transcendental deity. Which means mathematically, although there's a seemingness of being very small, and that smallness may be literally true, those meditations that bring us to the infinite are actually of value because we do have this mathematical relationship to it, which is valuable and useful and mathematically true. I'm not sure if that's helpful or confusing. The whole point behind something like astrology is that we're a picture of the infinite universe at the moment we were born. And whether or not you're into astrology is one thing, but just the idea that we are, to some extent, a moment in time of an infinite physical universe is in and of itself helpful in positioning ourselves in perspective to the universe. According to the magical traditions that I've been initiated into, the magic that has to do with Earth is alchemy. And alchemy is a very complicated subject that would deserve a video all on its own. In brief, it has to do with transmuting things. It has to do with taking things apart and putting them back together again in a way where they're more resonant with the infinite. And therein lies the secrets of things like Osiris and Jesus and Mithras and all the various slain and resurrected deities, man and God kind of stuff. I think for somebody just starting out, the thing to think about might be things like uses for material substance in the doing of magic to bring about change, which meets the whole transmutation aspect of things. So like if you use herbs to cast spells or to create incenses to have a particular magical effect, or perfumes for the same reason, I think that's like a very basic earth magic. And of course, as with the other forms of magic, there is the evocation of magical spirit, or of earth elemental spirits. Evocation's kind of advanced as well. However, for those people who feel ready to try it, Hob, the king of the earth elementals, is a friendly spirit to humans and witches and magicians who gives good spells, and you would want to take all the protections, of course, while doing an evocation, but good results with that. And with that, let's take a look at the cards. So let's look at the tarot. Oh, bother. There we go. So, the first tarot key that is explicitly Earth is the Ace of Pentacles. The Ace of Pentacles is the whole shebang. It's the entire suit of coins rolled up in one card. If you could put this card under a microscope and look at it, you would see all the other pentacles. So when you're thinking about the infinite Earth, this is the card that represents it. These are the signs of the zodiac that are Earth signs. The Hierophant is Taurus, the Hermit is Virgo, and the Devil is Capricorn. Therefore, if you know anything about astrology, this is the triplicity that has to do with Earth. And here we have the suit of coins minus the ace. So this is the ace divided out over the rest of the suit. So cutting up the infinite Earth into smaller pieces to look at. You can see that the Earth is not immediately the most visible thing in each of these, like the two of coins here. We've got a lot of water. And the five of coins, we've got all that snow. The four, you see trees and stuff in the background, but mostly buildings. Nonetheless, all of these have to do with the Earth, the infinite Earth, looked at through, a bunch of different angles. And these I threw up because they're examples of things that you might not think of as being related to Earth, but really sort of are. It's like the world, excuse me, is technically associated to Saturn. However, in magic and mysticism, and particularly in Kabbalah, Saturn and the Earth are very closely related. Therefore, when meditating or doing magic that involves Earth, you might want to consider Saturn. Also, the four creatures at the corners are the caribs, the elemental caribs, with the bull at the bottom left there being the Earth. That's also true for the Wheel of Fortune. The magician, while technically Mercury and all the yellow signifies air, while his wand, which is fire, is reaching out to the heavens, and infinity is over his head. He's got all of the elements on his altar there. His fingers pointed at the ground, and the whole arbor of flowers and the grounds beneath his feet are symbolic of him accessing the infinite power and directing it through his fingertip to cause change within the Earth element. So Earth is a major player in this particular card as well. Although in this card, it's being reshaped at the will of the magician. Will being fire and the wand in his hand. The Empress is Venus, and Venus has a tendency to be more watery. And you can see the water in the waterfall there. However, being surrounded by the trees and the wheat, the Venus symbol on her dress is flowering. The Venus symbol off to her left is on stone. It suggests that not only is she a goddess of love and beauty and creativity, motherhood since she's pregnant, sex because she's Venus, she's also an earth goddess. The stars on her crown and the pearls on her necklace are the signs of the zodiac and the planets, which shows that she's celestial in nature, but the whole tone of the card points to her as an earth goddess, the earth goddess. The pages, I don't want to confuse anybody. I refer to these more often as the princesses than as the pages. In a lot of decks, they are the princesses. I think they would probably be the princesses in this deck if Waite hadn't been somewhat swayed by Victorian sensibilities. The Waite deck comes out of the Golden Dawn system of Magic, and their description of the tarot cards calls them the princesses, and Waite knew that. I think of them as the princesses. While I really like the Waite deck, there are other decks that I prefer the princesses in just because they're princesses. That's not to say that any court card can't be any gender. Any court card can be any gender. However, if sticking with the attributions, you have the king is male and the queen is female, and the knight is male and the princess is female, you sort of cover the spectrum of an older man and woman and a younger man and woman. The princess is, again, a symbol of the great earth goddess. She is the infinite earth in and of herself. Again, she's been split up. And as with the other court cards, she's symbolic. The princesses, for the most part, have multiple elements involved. So the Page of Wands is fire of earth. The Page of Cups is water of earth. The Page of Swords is air of earth. And the Page of Pentacles is earth of earth. One of the reasons that this is possible is that when we're dividing up the universe into the elements to get a better look at the infinite, that doesn't mean, and the Kabbalists call those the worlds. It doesn't mean that there really are 4 different infinite worlds. It's just a construct for looking at them. Actually, they're all simultaneously the world going on at once, and the princess is more in touch with that. The court cards are pretty in touch with that in general, but the princess is the one who's in touch with that, centered in earth. The other thing is that in Kabbalah, the fire, air, and water are like pure elements. The earth is a combination of them. The other 3 flow into the earth, and the earth is a composite of the other elements. So when you're thinking about earth, often like a terrestrial fire or a terrestrial air or a terrestrial water can be involved, which resonates to the infinite mystical element, but is technically a part of the system that is the infinite earth. And I mentioned at the beginning of this video something called the Galaxy Song by Eric Idle of Monty Python in Monty Python's movie The Meaning of Life. I wanted to read you the lyrics of that, just to give you a greater idea of the infinity of Earth. I want to start by saying, for people who aren't like science nerds or science fiction fans, a little bit of a definition of terms. A light year is the amount of space that light travels in 1 year. A light minute, the amount of space that light traverses in 1 minute, is 12 million miles. There's something like 524,000 light minutes in 1 light year. So that's 524,000 times 12 million miles is a light year. Anyway, the lyrics to the song go like this. Whenever life gets you down, Mrs. Brown, and things seem hard or tough, and people are stupid, obnoxious, or daft, and you feel like you've had quite enough, just remember that you're standing on a planet that's evolving and revolving at 900,000 miles an hour. that's orbiting at 19 miles a second, so it's reckoned, the sun that is the source of all our power. The sun and you and me and all the stars that we can see are moving at 1,000,000 miles a day in an outer spiral arm at 40,000 miles an hour of the galaxy we call the Milky Way. Our galaxy itself contains 100 billion stars. It's 100,000 light years side to side. It bulges in the middle 16,000 light years thick, but out by us it's just 3,000 light years wide. We're 30,000 light years from galactic central point. We go round every 200 million years. And our galaxy is only one of millions of billions in this amazing and expanding universe. The universe itself keeps on expanding and expanding in all of the directions it can whiz. As fast as it can go, the speed of light, 12 million miles a minute, and that's the fastest speed there is. So remember, when you're feeling very small and insecure, how amazingly unlikely is your birth. And pray that there's intelligent life somewhere up in space, because it's bugger all down here on Earth. Now, that last bit's kind of, pessimistic. I think it's funny, but I have seen signs of intelligent life on Earth. Not very often recently, but from time to time I catch a glimpse. One thing I also wanted to say about some of those numbers is that we might think that we're sitting very, very still in a chair, but our bodies are actually moving at the same speed as the Earth because we're attached to the Earth by gravity. So when we're told that the Earth is revolving at 900 miles an hour, that means you and me are traveling at 900 miles an hour. It means we're orbiting the sun at 19 miles a second. It means that we're moving 1,000,000 miles a day. So we're used to it, so we don't sense it. But it is nonetheless true that we are moving that fast all the time through the entire course of our life. And so the universe is really big, infinite, based on what we can comprehend. But you can take those numbers in a different direction to smaller and within. The human body has the average adult human body has 37.2 trillion cells. The cells are made of atoms and electrons, and I can't tell you how many atoms and electrons because every reference I can find to it, it puts the number in scientific notation. And basically when that happens, it means that the size of the number is so big that you just can't really write it out very efficiently, and you can't say it in a short amount of time. But a cell is much larger than an atom or an electron or a subatomic particle, so it's a lot more than 37 trillion. Our body is like a universe or universes. It's huge in that it's composed of trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of things. And as we saw in the other videos, the body partakes of all of the elements the way the Earth does. So you've got air coming in, you've got minerals, chemicals coming in and forming the cells. You've got water coming in. You are the Earth. Yes, you are what you eat, and everything that you eat is of the Earth. But given those trillions and trillions of components that make up your body, and the fact that we're connected by gravity to everything, and we're moving, influenced by all of these things, we're connected to all of this infinity. Not only are we
embodiments of all of these infinite elements, but that means that we ourselves are infinite, and maybe we can only recognize that by thinking of how many cells and atoms make us up, which are microscopic stars and galaxies. But it means that it's more than possible for us to contemplate the infinite and learn something from it, and by doing so, learn something about ourselves. Anyway, I guess that's about it for this particular series of videos. I sort of enjoyed it. I got a great deal out of it just because I enjoy contemplating these subjects, and so I was glad to have the opportunity to spend some time doing that, and I hope that you enjoyed it too, and that maybe it helped you get glimpses into something you hadn't contemplated before. I don't know when I'll do another series like this because I put a lot of pressure on myself, and as soon as I did the first one, it was like, okay, there's this weight on me. I now have to do all of these. And given the fact that I have a day job and a wife and a house, all of which have sort of requirements on my time, I found that pressure less than happy making, although as I said, I did enjoy making the videos. But I also find out that most people, most of my views are on my more spontaneous rantings. So if you liked this and want something like this again, please feel free to make comments and let me know. Maybe I'll have some grand idea and come up with some, series of videos again. But for now, I think it's going to be back to just whatever comes to mind. And again, leave comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you want to talk about. Have a conversation with me. If you're interested in tarot readings, I will have contact information below on how you can get a hold of me to make an appointment to get a reading if you want a live reading, or we could work out how I could email you something. If you're ever up for a chat, you can look for me on social media. I'm on most major social media as Fairday, either one word or two, sometimes with numbers, sometimes without. But and keep an eye on me for me on YouTube and Facebook, where I occasionally do live readings for an audience, which might be fun if you're into the tarot. And I'll see you in the next video. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
So, I forgot something, and I figured rather than just re-record the whole, second half of the video, I would just record it and tack it out at the end. If you watched the first 3 videos in the series, the fire, water, and air videos, I pointed out that there are numerical cards associated with each element, just based on the numerology in Kabbalah. For Earth, that's 10. So all of the various 10s are also associated with Earth, in the same way the princesses are. So the 10 of Wands would be fire of Earth, the 10 of Cups would be water of Earth, the 10 of Coins would be earth of Earth. And another interesting point is that while I talked about the worlds all sort of existing simultaneously, the infinite division, the division of the infinite into the elements is artificial, there's another way of looking at it where there's a continuum of elements, with fire being on the top and water being on the bottom, and therefore the first tarot card at the very top of the continuum would be the Ace of Wands, and the last would be the 10 of Coins. So fire goes from Ace of Wands to 10 of Wands, water from Ace of Cups to 10 of Cups, and each ace after fire is in some ways like the 11th card of the previous suit. Like the 11 of wands would be the ace of cups. The 11 of cups would be the ace of swords. As a result, tens have a certain finality, and none more so than the ten of coins. The ten of coins is the last of the continuum, and there's some magic around the idea that below the ten of coins we have what's called a Qabalistic or demonic realm. But for most intents purposes, the ten of coins is the end of the story that starts with the ace of wands. And given the nature of the ten of coins in divinatory readings, it's a happy ending. And they all lived happily ever after. Important thing about endings, though, and tens in particular, is that as good a card as something like the ten of coins might be, it has the potentiality of eventually becoming a stagnant thing, of all that happiness being finite in duration because it becomes stagnant. It doesn't go anywhere. It's always the same. That said, there's the other possibility that it's a cycle. So the ten of coins will eventually become the ace of wands again and cycle down again. But that might be bad news if you're looking for the ten of coins in tarot readings and say, oh, happily ever after. But it's good news if you're looking at the ten of swords and thinking, oh God, this is horrible. But, you know, in a couple of minutes it's going to turn into the ace of coins. So there you have it, a little bit on the tens, and now I'm really done with the series. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.